All right, boys, we're going live. This is the SBR betting roundtable for Wednesday, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. Every Wednesday, we got BMOC, Donnie Rightside, Ian Cameron, all in the house. We'll go around the horn, introduce everybody, start from right to left. Ian Cameron at Babano, CFL handicapper, doing a little MLB and also a big-time college football and NFL guy. Ian, how you doing today?
I can't complain about not being busy on Wednesdays, Drew. It's ridiculous. Wednesday's always the big release day for CFL plays each week. So that keeps me busy in the morning, getting ready for the roundtable. Every Wednesday during the morning keeps me busy. So it's been hectic here, but ready for another great roundtable show. Always a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, saw that CFL odds screen lighten up this morning and thought of you. Good stuff there. And next up, Donnie.
You know I'm breathing when you see that, yeah.
Well, Donnie, how you doing today? You can find Donnie on Twitter at RightSideVP, his work at DonnieRightside.com, all over SBR. Donnie, welcome to the SBR Betting Roundtable.
I could barely sleep last night, to be honest, Drew. You know, I even got really dressed up for the show today, made sure my hair was perfect because we're going to be talking MACtion football today. There's no better place to be in the middle of the summer than talking Mid-American Conference action. I can't wait. Again, roundtable, a lot of fun to go over. Hopefully at the end of the show, we can give out our best bets again, and maybe I can get back on track and keep it ahead with the team totals that I've been hitting on. But no, great day here. We're going to talk football, some NFL football, college football, baseball is going on. Great to be here.
Yeah, we got a full slate. Excited to talk this one. MACtion for sure. Some of the most exciting football that is around, to tell you the truth. And last but not least, big man on campus, BMOC, Jeff Nadeau, at Jeff Nadeau on Twitter. Jeff, how you doing today?
Doing great, Drew. As Donnie said, very excited to talk more football. I don't care what we talk about. We could talk about Pennsylvania high school football, and I'll talk about it. As long as it's football, I'm excited.
Big 33, baby.
Yes, let's rock with it.
Did you guys play football in Pennsylvania?
No, I didn't. I played when
Come
I was
on, Jeff, you tell me you didn't get on the offensive line and grind it out as like a guard? Come on, that's disappointing.
When I was real young, and this might be very hard for all of you to believe. I get shit all the time for it because I bring it up. When I was like 8 or 9, 10 years old, I had a cannon for an arm. Just going to say that. I didn't turn out to be a quarterback, clearly, but hey, when you're young, you can do a lot of things, and I wouldn't look like one now, but if you can believe it, I can throw a ball pretty far.
What, over under 55 yards?
I don't know about that, but I can throw pretty far. Put it that way. Hey, Drew, one time I once threw an egg, a full city block in Philadelphia, and Donnie can attest. It's pretty.
Was it Mischief Night? You did that on Mischief Night record?
From Shunk Street to Porter Street, I threw an egg. I'm just saying.
All right, guys, we got a packed show today. We got a pretty good-looking MLB card. Some games already underway. Philly, Miami, 2-1 right now. Philly is up, and Chicago Cubs, Atlanta Braves, 1-0 Chicago. Both games early. But let's get at today's MLB card. Anybody want to get anything off their chest?
I just want to point out, Drew, that I think going forward, sometimes we do teams to fade and teams to back. I think you have to look at fading the Cincinnati Reds at this point. I mean, if you haven't been doing it, you've kind of been missing out. This team has lost 5 in a row. They have the worst team ERA in baseball. And you look at during this 5-game losing streak, Drew, they've been outscored 46-14. They're not even in their games. Their pitching rotation has been a mess. And seemingly no one has worked in this rotation. I mean, you go to Amir Garrett, you go to Tim Adelman, you go to Wojciechowski, you go to Bronson Arroyo and Bailey. I mean, just absolute dreck in this pitching rotation. And their lineup has since kind of disappeared in a way. I'm looking to continue to fade the Reds. I'll foreshadow a little bit later in the show. But for me, they have to be one. And a team to back is the Rays. I mean, you look at this team, all of a sudden, and no one really talks about them, Drew, but they're only 2 games back in the AL East. They've won 7 of 10, and they're winning games when the Yankees are not winning games. And they're doing it through good offense. Their pitching's been very good lately. I don't know if it will last, but Tampa Bay Rays have been looking very good right now.
Absolutely. Money. If the season ended today, they'd be in the wild card, right?
Yes, that's a great point. And they're only 2 games back in a volatile AL East, a group that, as far as Boston concerned, I mean, they just stay very inconsistent. I mean, you look at the Yankees, they have some issues. They still have issues. Even you can add bullpen help all you want. I've talked to you, Donnie Wright, said they still don't have any starting pitching. I mean, I don't know what Joe Girardi and Castner are thinking. You got to go out and get another starter. I don't know what this team thinks. I guess they think that 3 innings would be enough and they can just go to their bullpen. But, yeah, I mean, the Rays are quietly doing this, Drew.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yep.
man. And
no question about it. I've got a good bet on Pittsburgh Pirates. And you know what's funny about the Pittsburgh Pirates right now, who've been great in their last 10 or 12 ball games? They've got starting pitchers across the board that are getting the job done right now. Garrett Cole's ironed out all those issues he had, I believe, in May and early June when he was really going through a rough patch. He's been a lot better. What can you say about Jamison Tyle? He has been Mr. Consistent, Mr. Fantastic, consistent, giving Pittsburgh a chance to win every time out. And look at all of a sudden our old friend Chad Kuhl. He's hot. Kuhl is hot. I mean, right now he's pitching better, this guy for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So he's found something lately for this team. So all of a sudden they're getting all those kinks in the rotation ironed out. They're hitting the ball now. Polanco, McCutcheon's picked it up a little bit. Josh Harrison, who keeps getting plunked, it seems, every single game with how he crowds home plate. But, you know, Josh Bell's hit a little bit better. David Freese, Starling Marte now back in this lineup. There's some good things to like about Pittsburgh. This is not a team that's thrown in the towel, and they're certainly not playing like it right now.
Yeah, Starling Marte coming back is a big boost for the Pirates. So I agree with you, and I think they might be bet on material. Donnie, what do you think in MLB?
Yeah, MLB, I mean, now it's time after the All-Star break, the movers and the shakers. Jeff talks about the New York Yankees right there. They do need starting pitching, but goddamn, that bullpen, if it's right, is going to be amazing. And also just getting a sort of throw-in guy as Frazier as your third baseman. What do the Yankees need at the bottom of the lineup? Just plug him in, maybe 7th, 8th, or 9th. He's going to give you professional bats. I know he hasn't been that good this year. What's his average? Maybe around 220, 215 at this point. But he's going to be in a hitter's ballpark now with the lineup that's going to be able to fortify him and not much pressure. He plays a decent third base. You might be able to DH him a little bit. So I like the move the Yankees make. I'm interested to see what they actually counter with and try to get some starting pitching. And again, throughout Major League Baseball, for some reason, the Phillies are trying to buy everybody on the Marlins, it seems, every time I see a brand new update. You also look at Yoan Moncada now coming up for the White Sox. They have now waved the white flag, and a fantastic move to me for the Arizona Diamondbacks, saying, hey, you know what? It might be too expensive to go out and get pitching. Why don't we just add more bats to this lineup and just try to out-crank and out-hit you down the stretch? They're not going to catch the Los Angeles Dodgers, but maybe they're looking at saying, hey, maybe we can fortify this team and get in a 1-game playoff there for the wild card and maybe see about a 5-game series in the next one. I like what they're doing, but keep in mind as the season goes on, these overall favorites, 140s, 150s, are going to turn into 160s and 170s because the haves and the have-nots are here. So value on some of these favorites might be a little bit gone at this point, but those dog days of August, some of those long shots are going to cash just by default here.
Well said, Donnie. And Ian, I didn't mean to cut you off before. Did you have something to say MLB-wise? Nope, I guess not.
Sorry, my mic was muted there. But yeah, I was going to mention Jeff's favorite pitcher on the Pirates too. How good he's been, Nova. I can't believe I missed out on him. Nova's been Mr. Consistent for them too. Felipe Rivero being the closer for that Pirates team. Look at that 9th inning now. No sweat, no worries, no heart attacks waiting to happen anymore for the Pirates with a 9th inning lead. Rivero nails it down, not like it was before, with a bunch of these stiffs that were in there trying to close games. There's a lot to like there in the Berg right now with that ball club.
And, I mean, at the end of the day, they're only 5 games back in this division. I mean, they're not out of it. I mean, this division is, I think, wide open. I mean, the Cubs are playing better, but look, I mean, again, will they catch them? No, I don't think. But the Pirates are starting to look up. That's a great point, Ian, about Ivan Nova, and you mentioned Kuhl. I think they still have middle relief problems, but hey, who the hell doesn't? As far as the Todd Frazier point on Donnie Wright's side, that Donnie Wright had made, hey, anything's better than Chase Headley, isn't it? The problem I have, the problem I have is, he's going to hit a hell of a lot of home runs there. He's a Point Pleasant guy. He grew up in Toms River, which, look, this guy rooted for the Yankees his whole career. He's a New Jersey guy through and through. Look, I got to tell you, I think bat-wise, I think he's one of the more overrated players I've ever heard in the major leagues. But, look, good hitter. As far as home runs, I don't know if he's a good average hitter. But, hey, in that ballpark, he's going to do a lot more than I think even we can imagine. And he's better than Headley. But, Donnie, you agree. This team has to go get starting pitching. I mean, if they think they're going to survive and get to the playoffs, I mean, who are your starters right now? Severino, Tanaka, who's been more inconsistent than consistent, and I mean, what are you going to throw Luis Cessa out there on the regular?
That's not a big time start. No.
Yeah, it's they have to do something. And listen, Sonny Gray's got to be the target, I think. I mean, there's not a ton of pitchers out there to really go after, but I think you have to look towards Sonny Gray, I would think.
Hey, and guys, why are you hating on Cessa? He cashed last night.
Yeah, but he was terrible. I mean, he couldn't get out.
He worked in and out. Yeah,
and that was Drew, the Yankee offense. That had nothing to do with Cessa. They just erupted for 5 runs. Cessa couldn't.
Big sexy, yeah.
And I'll admit, I mean, Scott Berry wasn't good behind the plate last night at all, but Cessa just couldn't throw strikes. I mean, it was pretty horrible.
Yeah. Well, you guys want to hit on anything else on the diamond before we move over to professional league football?
Not really.
I think we're excited for football at this point.
Yeah.
All right, boys, let's go to the NFL first. We got the AFC North. Last year, the Steelers taking the division with the Ravens finishing second at 8-8, Bengals at 6-9-1, and then the Browns, the always famous 1-15 season. So I know you guys probably know the NFL a little bit better than I do. In some cases, a lot more than I do. So what way are you looking to bet the AFC North this upcoming season?
Well, I think, Drew, the one thing, I mean, clearly we have to look at is the offense in this division. I mean, you look at the Steelers. I mean, how many points a game is this team going to score? I mean, you might score 35, 40 points a game. They go out and get Juju Smith-Schuster, who's one of the better receivers in the draft, really kind of fortify an already very good offense. Offensive line's pretty good. And you look at in this division, there are not – I mean, the Bengals have issues on the offensive line. The Ravens have issues. They have a pretty fortified offensive line. They have a lot of young players, though, on defense, and I wonder, can they kind of, can that take them? There's not many veterans on this group anymore. I mean, you got a lot of young guys. You got T.J. Watt. You got him in the draft. You forget Matakevich last year. Their linebackers are all very young. You got some pretty good offenses in this. I mean, the Bengals are going to be really good offenses, so I wonder – is the Steelers' defense good enough? But again, do they really have to be that good? I think offensively they're going to be able to do whatever they want. I do want to talk about the Bengals, which I'm sure we'll get into, but I wonder about the Steelers defensively. But hey, they have the names there. It's can they wake up and play and be okay as far as no experience?
No, just to piggyback off your point there, Jeff, with the Steelers, I agree. The offense is going to be fantastic this year. I like the moves they made even in the draft to get a Juju Smith-Schuster. It seems like it's like wide receiver heaven going to Pittsburgh. They just churn out great wideout after great wideout, and when their time is up, if they don't want to pay them, they just release them, and then another guy moves right up the wing. The one thing I'm worried about, which I always get nervous in the NFL, is preparation time. Not getting a contract with Le'Veon Bell. He's going to get paid a lot of money anyway with the franchise tag, about $12 million. He turned down, I believe, somewhere in the neighborhood of $60 million over 5 years, which I get it. It's a devalued position in the NFL, and you can't look to Adrian Peterson's contract, sort of one of those outlying type contract situations, which was so off the charts that Le'Veon Bell was trying to put himself on that plateau. But you can't just do what another team does stupidly and spend money, so I agree with that. The only thing I don't like is Le'Veon Bell's not going to show up to camp. He's not going to show up for the first preseason game, the second, hell, maybe not even the third game, and show up 2 or 3 days before the season. And when you're not in camp, you're not getting the reps, you're not getting the burn on your legs. We've seen it time and time again. Your rhythm is off, your timing is off, your hamstrings are off, your calves are off. It's an injury waiting to happen. Big Ben has a time frame right here to get possibly another Super Bowl. Why would you mess with Le'Veon Bell? Pay him and worry about it later. This team is ready to compete and win now. Why would you mess with one of the best cogs in the NFL in the backfield? That's my only worry with the Steelers this year.
Good point. That's a good point on that.
And we saw in the playoff game last year against the Patriots when Bell got injured, what did that offense do? D'Angelo Williams just did nothing. Now, they did upgrade. I think D'Angelo Williams being gone is good. I think James Conner's a capable backup running back there for the Steelers if something happens to Bell. Pittsburgh's going to be great offensively. There's no denying that. It's all about the defensive side of the football. I don't think losing Lawrence Timmons is a big deal. Lawrence Timmons is on the decline. Everybody's making a big deal. Oh, that experience is gone. I don't think he's as good of a player as he was a few years ago, so I don't think that's a huge loss. This Bengals team, to me, still has a lot to show me. Marvin Lewis still there. I have no clue how that's the case. Andy Dalton is too erratic for me to trust right now. He just makes bonehead decisions, bad throws at the worst time. And let's not forget, I know they have skill position talent. There's no question. They've got very good skill position talent, the Cincinnati Bengals team. When you look at A.J. Green, if Tyler Eifert can stay healthy, they draft Ross, the kid out of Washington, to be receiver. Going to have a ton of weapons. There's no question. But can Dalton get the football to those guys? That's the problem. And on the offensive line, that's right where I'm looking at with this Cincinnati team. They lose left tackle Andrew Whitworth and guard Kevin Zeitler. Both of them gone. Big losses, big holes to fill, in my opinion, along that Cincinnati offensive line. I don't see that offensive line being as good as it was last year. And that's going to be a concern for me moving forward.
Ian, they weren't good last year. This team gave up 41 sacks, the second most in the NFL. Only other to Tyrod Taylor was sacked more. They weren't good last year, and they lost 2 players. That's a great point by you. They have a lot of good skill position players. John Ross is going to be an absolute nightmare in the slot with A.J. Green, with the running backs that they have. I've heard Joe Mixon. Look, we can talk about what he did off the field, but on the field, from what I've heard, he's been really impressive. And look, the great point about Marvin Lewis that Ian made was, why is he still there? And will he crash and burn this team? I think they're going to be very good. I think defensively, they were good last year. They only gave up 19.5 points a game, but can Marvin Lewis kind of get the fuck out of the way and let this team do what they want to do? And again, the offensive line is the big problem. He was sacked way too much last year. Can they improve that? I think they got worse, to be brutally honest. You mentioned Whitworth. They didn't do much to improve themselves.
They did not.
They do have Jake Fisher. That's about it. But you look at some of the names on this offensive line. Who the hell is Russell Bodine, Clint Bowley? Who the hell are these guys? I never heard of these guys. They're going to have some trouble. They have a good offense, but can you keep Dalton upright?
Well, that's the thing, big man. It's not even about sacking Dalton. If he gets a little pressure at him, if people are at his feet, people are at his hands, people are at his head, that flusters the guy. That's when he's at his absolute worst. He can't handle any sort of pressure around him whatsoever. Not that quarterbacks are good in that, but especially Dalton, he really panics when there's people coming to sack him, and that's when he makes his biggest mistakes. And this offensive line, you could argue Whitworth and Zeitler, that offensive line wasn't good last year, but maybe their 2 best offensive linemen now gone, and they didn't adequately replace them in my mind.
It's just irritating because they seem to always have some thing that prevents them from doing well. They have a good offense one year, but they can't stop anyone on defense. They have a good defense. They can't get the ball out as a quarterback. It's just there's always something with them, and I think that goes a lot to the leadership of this group, which we all know is an absolute dumpster fire. I will say one thing, Drew, about this division. The Cleveland Browns are going to be much better on the defensive side of the football. I don't know about offense because quarterback problems are always there with this team, but you look at all of a sudden with this defense. You look at the line: Myles Garrett, Danny Shelton, Emmanuel Ogbah, Carl Nassib. You got Calvin Pryor at the back end, Julius Peppers, Joe Hayden has been a mainstay there. They may not score a lot of points, but I think they're going to be a much better defensive club. They're not going to win a lot of games, but just know going into Cleveland, I don't think it's going to be as easy as some people might think. If they can figure out the quarterback problem,
yes,
they're going to be a team that, unlike last year, will cover a lot of games. Sharps continued to bet them last year, didn't make any money. This year, I think, might be a year where they're a more bet-on team for me just because I think that defense is pretty good.
I'll tell you what, Jeff, if they can get anything out of the quarterback spot, whether it's Osweiler, whether it's Kaiser, whether it's Kessler, I don't know. And Hugh Jackson, you give him a puncher's chance to do something with one of these quarterbacks because he's a good offensive mind, smart, creative guy on the offensive side of the football is Hugh Jackson. But what I love about this Cleveland team, they should be able to run the football. I don't know if they're going to run it as good as Dallas. Dallas is going to be able to line up running backs, run the football well. I think Cleveland can. I think Cleveland's got one of the better offensive lines, to be honest with you. Joe Thomas, a great offensive lineman, bring in J.C. Tretter from the Green Bay Packers, which I think was a big loss for them on their O-line. And I think those two guys really going to insulate this Browns team up front along the offensive line, going to allow them to run the football effectively, take pressure off whoever ends up being the starting quarterback of this team in week 1. They've got, Crowell there, Duke Johnson. I'm not saying these guys are great running backs by any stretch, but they're going to have a very good offensive line to run behind, and I think take a lot of pressure out of whoever the QB is.
Yeah, looking at the Browns overall as a schedule, 4.5 is their team total. I think that's about right because if you look at their schedule, it's not the easiest schedule they have. And I'm going to say right now, they're not going to win a game in their division this year. That's a tough division to be in, even if you have a really good team. Talk about over and undervalued. I'm looking at just the overall team totals. I think the Bengals, Jeff, actually are undervalued at 8.5 as a team total. I think they're going to hit 9 wins, maybe even 10 wins this year. The one that actually surprises me, where I think there is some value, is I was surprised to see the Baltimore Ravens a total of 9 on the season. I think they're more likely to go 9 or less than win 10 games in that division. The other one out there, Pittsburgh at 10.5. If Le'Veon Bell is healthy, they're getting that 11, 12, or maybe even 13 wins this year. I think the Steelers are that dominant on offense that they can carry it, but undervalued to me in that division, Cincinnati Bengals 8.5, overvalued Baltimore Ravens at 9. I think they stay under that total.
I think this division is very much a what-if division other than the Steelers. I don't see – they don't have a ton of holes, the Steelers. I mean, they obviously have Big Ben's age and what do you get out of the secondary? But as far as the other teams, they all have question marks. The Ravens, I mean, you added Jeremy Maclin. Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, but can he stay healthy? I mean, every year he's injured. Brashad Perriman hasn't played a game, it seems like, in the NFL. Defense, though, got strong. This defense is going to be just as good as they were last year. Bringing in Eric Weddle and Tony Jefferson, 2 very good safeties. You got Marlon Humphrey in the draft. And then you look at some of the other moves. You brought in Tyus Bowser, a very good linebacker from Houston. I think it's going to be almost like a poor man's Thomas Davis, possibly. Really good, really fast, quick off the ball. And then you brought Chris Wormley in, a good defensive tackle from Michigan. So this defense is going to be really good. He kind of maybe will replace maybe what Timmy Jernigan, they lost there, him going to the Eagles. But, yeah, I think you're right, Donnie. I think the Steelers at 10.5, I mean, this team looks like a 12-win team, I would think. And we had a caller, guys, call into our show and say that he thought that – you remember that guy, Donnie? He said the Browns would win 6 or 7 games. You remember that guy?
No, I do.
I don't mean to jump on it, but
their schedule is not real. I got just to be in that division. Maybe if you lined them up and they got to play like the Jets twice a year in the division, some teams that are not as good, but you're going up against really good. When your quarterback is not very good, you don't even know who your quarterback is. You're looking at Joe Flacco, you're looking at Dalton, and you're looking at Big Ben going against your team. That doesn't add up very well for them.
Yeah, in terms of this division, it's Pittsburgh's division to lose at this point in time. I'm a little bit more negative Ravens and Bengals until I see something from them early in the season. And I do think there's point spread potential with the Browns, just because one win last year, they were terrible against the point spread. They're going to have a chance to be a little bit better and more competitive. The Baltimore issue is on offense. At least last year, Jimmy Smith was their one cornerback they could rely on in the secondary. They insulated that position. They added some pieces to the defense a little bit, the Ravens, but that offense is still a major concern. Flacco's devoid of weapons. It's a bad offensive line, in my opinion. Steve Smith's retired. Brashad Perriman, Mike Wallace is just a Mr. Disappointment year after year now, it seems. They bring in Jeremy Maclin. I understand, he had some decent years early on in Kansas City, but he's been an injury-riddled mess the last year or two. How good is he going to be, Jeremy Maclin? And they're going to be demanding a lot from him at the wide receiver spot. They might be better on defense, might be decent on defense, but where these points are going to come from, let's just say they're going to be seeing a lot of Justin Tucker. He's going to be busy because I don't know if they'll be converting a lot of their drives into touchdowns, particularly early in the season.
Hey, guys, just to chime in here, I know we're kind of against Cleveland, although, Ian, you just said they might have point spread value.
Yeah, I don't hate them. I think they have point spread value, too. I wonder about quarterbacks, Drew. That's kind of the turning thing.
Yeah, and it's a huge concern. It's arguably the most important position in all of sports. But when I hear you guys saying, especially Donnie, a good defense and a good running game catching points, that's usually a good sign to maybe cash some tickets.
Yeah, no, the point spread part of it I do agree with, but they're so young. There's so many moving parts, and the NFL cohesion is king. When you look at the other teams in the division, there's not a lot of upheaval there. They know really what they're coming into, what they're going to be. Cleveland is more, what can we see? And the old saying goes, if you have more than 2 quarterbacks you're thinking of, you don't have any quarterbacks on your roster, basically. Everybody's set in line. Cleveland's going to find out what they are. I would actually, Jeff and everybody, look for Cleveland better to be, games 10 through 16 than it would be 1 through 10 while they're just trying to feel themselves out, getting ready to go.
Yeah, especially if one of these quarterbacks kind of takes charge of the team and it's at least decent.
Yeah, well, guys, real quick, I agree totally with you guys. I think they are a point spread value. And Drew, I mean, they were so bad last year against the spread. You would have to think, I mean, they're going to be better, than what they were last year. But you're right. If someone could take charge of this team, they're kind of scary because defensively, they're going to be much better. I mean, they have a lot of names there that I think are really just going to kind of be good football players. And, the run game struggles, I think. But hey, they have Corey Coleman. They have some guys that can catch the football. They brought in Kenny Britt. Maybe he can give you something. David Njoku out of Miami, your boy Donnie. Maybe Deshaun Kaiser can be that guy. I don't know.
And usually when you go into a new NFL season, you're looking to buy low on teams. It's a pretty good strategy to go with, and you can't buy much lower than the Cleveland Browns after the year they had last year.
Right.
And Donnie, I heard you bring up about the sports books, what season totals were for the Cleveland in particular. What do you look for in sports books that make you gravitate towards one sports book rather than the other?
In the words of team total, or just actually what their like lines would look like?
Well, like team total is one thing, but do you look for more reduced juice? Do you look for more what do you like in a sports book?
It's not actually which book that I want to use. It's which book do I look at for what the lines are actually doing. Like if you take a look at Bovada, they're a very dog book. So if one game is going to be, I want the Steelers and the true line is -7, Bovada's going to have the Steelers at -7.5 or -8. Where if you flip it around on like somewhere like Chris or Pinnacle, they might have a 6.5 or a 7 with reduced juice. I do like reduced juice, especially with 5 dimes. A lot of times they go on Friday if you get your play and it's -105. But overall, I don't pay too much attention to the actual juice in football as you would be Major League Baseball. I just like to balance those books to see who's moving the line and where it's going, and sort of where like the actual public is putting their money. But yes, I love to look at Bovada, and I love to look at some sharper advantage books just to see where their lines are, where some of the value might lay in that situation.
And what about you, Big Man or Ian? What do you guys look for anything different in sports books?
I think it's a pretty cool option again on certain books where you have they give you various win totals, and you can bet, as far as, like when you really kind of look at these teams, you can kind of schedule game to game, schedule by schedule. You can look and kind of zero in on like how many wins you actually think a team's going to have. And you can almost get plus money on some of these. I mean, there's certain books that will offer you maybe a win higher than the average win total, and you can get a nice price back. When you're looking at futures, it's hard to invest in win totals just because you're most of the time betting even money. You got to have your money tied up for a while. If there's a way that you can get plus money back and feel really good about like if you don't think the Browns are going to win 4.5 games, I mean, the Jets have a high win total. I mean, if you think they're going to be a 2-win team, you can really make some money in kind of, betting some of these really high plus money win totals. I think it's kind of a cool idea. Some of the books do that. If you're going to invest your money, at least you're getting a nice plus money price to kind of look forward to, plus 230, a plus 190. I think that's a pretty cool thing that they have now.
I agree with that. I mean, plus money on win totals, never a bad option. And I'll tell you what, for season win totals, nobody really does them much better than our fellow comrade at SBR here, Teddy Covers. I mean, his system for season win totals year after year is absolutely phenomenal. He's had tremendous results. He's got a specific way of going about doing them and betting them. And boy, he's had great success with it. But there is opportunities there with season win totals. I always bet them year after year, and I think it's a good way to further your bankroll.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know South Point kind of led the way with college football season win totals, but the offshores are pretty much like copying their numbers right now. So you can get a lot of different you can get numbers at a lot of different sports books offshore in college football. In the NFL, pretty much every sports book does. And I agree with you guys. I think season win totals is a good way to go. And I just talked to Zach before we got on. We can give away a trip down here, plus, the hotel, everything for IFBC. All we need to do is have 20 people go from watching the Roundtable to the SBR ratings guide on the Sportsbook page there, where you can just kind of compare each sportsbook to each other. So if we get 20 of you guys to go check that out, and I don't know if you guys can tell, we got like 80 developers and programmers back here. So we can track those numbers via metrics very easy. So just chime in on the chat box, and we can give away a trip to IFBC, and check that out at ifbc.live August 4th and 5th. But guys, we got to get into... I'm going to
be trying to throw a hip-hop way-back playback listening party down there, and I know you don't want to miss that.
I can't wait for that one. Yes.
What do you got? What kind of songs? Like, just name one of them.
You're going to hear a little, I don't know, Notorious B.I.G., Wu-Tang Clan, a little Lords of the Underground, a little,
Not a bad idea.
on down the list, 80s and 90s hip-hop.
If you would have came and said, like, you're going to play some, like, Chingy or something, I would have been out on that. But you actually did name some good good artists. So
a lot of Ja Rule and Ashanti.
Yes,
Tribe Called Quest.
If you would have said, "Hey, we're going to play Living It Up" by Ja Rule," I would have kind of, I'm going to move on. But hey, I would agree.
Always there when you call, but I'm always on time. Yeah, that's
my man. I'll be in on that.
There's going to be an open bar too, so it will make it sound that much better. So,
yeah, this is me with no drinks in my system. Imagine at that point. Yeah.
Nice, man. I can't wait. And check it out at ifbc.live. A lot going on there. Thanks, everybody, for watching. If you could give us a thumbs up, a like symbol, that helps us out as well. But, guys, we got to get into some college football here. We got some MACtion. And probably arguably the most exciting conference in college football. We got the Ohio Bobcats, the Miami, Ohio Redhawks, Toledo, Western Michigan going 8-0 in the conference last year. A lot going on in this conference, a lot of movement coach-wise, a lot of talent in this conference, and obviously a lot of offense in this conference. So what about you guys? Who are you looking to bet on? Who are you looking to fade in the MAC this year?
Toledo.
To fade
or to Toledo, Jeff? Come on, Jeff. Don't fade Toledo.
No. I'm fading them. I'm betting them to win this conference because I think they're the best team. I mean, you look at offensively. I mean, this team really has the ability to be maybe what Western Michigan was last year. I mean, you look at Logan Woodside, who's been there it seems like he's been there for like 10 years. I mean, I feel like in high school I was watching Logan Woodside. Jason Candle's really started to build something there. Terry Swanson, I think, is really going to kind of fill in for what you saw last year with Kareem Hunt. Their wide receivers, John Villa Johnson and Cody Thompson, I think two of the better wide receivers in the MAC. And look, defensively, I don't think they need to be that good. I mean, let's be real here. They can be average like they were last year and still win 11 football games. Again, their manageable schedule is enticing to me. I just don't see a lot of holes with this group. I mean, offensively, scored 38 points a game last year, 517 yards per game, and they bring back pretty much everyone. I know Kareem Hunt was a really good player, but I think they have guys kind of waiting in the wings to kind of fill his position. And I think they really have the ability to be like a Western Michigan type of team just because Logan Woodside is just really impressive.
Yeah, Woodside, one of the most accurate college passers you're ever going to find. I mean, if you take it back to last year, one of the fun games where Toledo was sort of introduced to the nation was the BYU game where they raced up and down the field. BYU ended up pulling that game out, but Toledo was game the entire way. I do agree, wide receivers, weapons. I think Swanson's going to fill that role very well for Hunt. I know Hunt was more of a power back, and he's a once in, Jeff, maybe 10-year MAC-type player. He was phenomenal. I mean, you could almost look at him and see a lot of Frank Gore. Like Frank Gore was actually playing in the MAC. Very tough, didn't fumble, very durable. But that team is going to move on, especially, I mean, they lost their coach last year and still put up big numbers. I look for more numbers there again. And in their conference, Jeff, I do have Toledo as the best team there. They're certainly going to compete. My team in the MAC that I'm looking forward to, which from last year, is the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. Fantastic team. Ended the season with 6 straight wins, but did end up getting tripped up in a bowl game. But you lose to an SEC team, 17-16 in a bowl. It's not the worst scenario. Gus Ragland's a very good and capable quarterback, very good wide receivers, very good running backs there, and one of the best defenses in the actual league. If I had some stats here, I would have bring them up, but a sort of lost case there. Returning 8 of 11 starters, Jeff, on the defensive side of the ball. And let's talk about also the 6 straight wins to end the year, but lost the bowl game with Mississippi by 1 point. Looking for them going forward. I actually really like their schedule coming up. Some interesting spots. The one game I'm looking forward to with Miami, Ohio, Jeff, they're going to travel to Notre Dame, put them on that big spotlight. Do I think they're going to beat Notre Dame?
Yeah.
No, but I'm interested to see how they're going to survive in that type of environment.
I think you make a good point about Miami of Ohio, and I think I got to be honest, Drew. I think in the MAC West, I think or MAC East, Ohio and Miami of Ohio are very similar football teams. They bring back a lot. Defensively, they're both very strong, but they have question marks. Can Quentin Maxwell take this team? Because they've had a lot of kind of controversy at the quarterback position. They had Greg Wyndham for a while, Darius Vick, now it's Quentin Maxwell. Solich is about as solid as you get. The problem I have with Miami of Ohio is they have a whole new athletic center, which is going to be great for this group, a new locker room, a new practice facility. I think there's a lot of really big excitement around this group. I mean, Drew, 3 or 4 years ago, this team was like a 2-win team in the country. I mean, Chuck Martin has done fantastic things with this group. The big game for me is going to be Halloween between Ohio. 16 starters back for the O. I think these teams both are going to battle it out, but I just for some reason give the edge to Ohio. You look at I mean, AJ Ouellette, Dorian Brown, Poppy Smith is back healthy. And defensively, they have 7 seniors up front. They were very good. Donnie, last year, guys, this team was 5th in the country against the run. They bring back Quentin Poling and Chad Moore. But can they take the step forward offensively? I think both these teams are going to have to prove that to me before I can get involved with them that much. Both these teams, I think, still have question marks on the offensive side. I do, though, give a little bit of an edge to Ohio. I like that skill position stuff there.
Yep.
Yeah, and Donnie, you were bringing up Miami Redhawks. It looks like their schedule, especially early on, at Marshall, Cincinnati, at Notre Dame, like you said, those are 3 pretty tough out of conference.
Exactly. They're gonna challenge themselves early, that team. But I like them. I'm with the boys on this one. The Miami Ohio team is one that I've got a bet on team for sure.
Look at Ohio, though. Purdue, Kansas, Hampton, and UMass. That's a 4-0 right there, if you ask me. They cannot go and lose to Texas State like they did last year. That was a horrible loss to start the season. It didn't end up affecting them too much, but I will admit I have an edge to Ohio. I think they're a slightly better football team, but I'm always kind of concerned about when you have a team in Miami of Ohio. There's a lot of excitement there. They have a lot to look forward to, and don't sleep on Alonzo Smith and James Gardner and Gus Ragland at quarterback. Yeah. It's going to be a nice race between these 2 teams in the MAC East for sure. And
big man, what about Quentin Maxwell? If I remember right, last year his accuracy was pretty far off, was it not?
Yeah, he said some. They've had issues at quarterback for a lot of years. I mean, Donnie, you know that. I mean, this team has
injuries. The key number is injuries. I mean, they lost guys before the season even started last year at starting quarterback.
They haven't had a quarterback since Tyler Tettleton, really. I mean, that's kind of the truth of the matter. Quentin Maxwell, I think this is his team now. I don't think he has to worry as much about, is there someone behind me that's going to try to take my job? No. He didn't play terribly. And we have to point out, Ouellette was injured last year. Poppy White was injured for most of the year. And Wyndham, or Maxwell himself, was injured, I think, at some point. So for me, I can't go too far and say that he's not ready. I think he's ready. I think he'll be good enough. And I wonder, they have the same question marks. What about Gus Ragland? Can we trust him either? I mean,
the thing with Ohio too is, can you do any worse at the quarterback spot than what you've been trotting out, like Darius Vick for a bit and J.D. Sprague and some of these guys they've had at the quarterback spot? They were just disastrous. So can't be any worse than that, and he's got potential there.
I like that guy.
Ohio's getting back their hammer with AJ Ouellette. He barely played at all last year. He's going to be backed up by Dorian Brown. Jeff brought up good points there. Poppy White is a sensational player for a MAC football player. Brandon Cope was banged up last year. So you have a legitimate offense coming back. And we all know Frank Solich. That defense is going to be around. Jeff already brought up the linebackers there. You have Moore and Poling, maybe the best linebacker combination in the entire MAC. So they're going to be fighting for that spot. They're always well coached, and that's a program set in stone. Solich has built that over the last decade into a MAC power. They're going to be there.
And big man, Toledo, just looking down their schedule, it looks like South Point has Toledo at 8.5 wins right now, and they got to go to Reno, at Nevada. They got Tulsa at home, at Miami, and then they got the whole MAC schedule. That includes at Ohio, at Bowling Green, Western Michigan. 8.5. You thinking over or under?
I would think over, Drew. I think this team loses 1 game, and I think that's at Miami. I think they're just way better than everyone in this conference, quite like Western Michigan was last year. Ohio and Miami of Ohio are good, but they cannot keep up at all with Toledo. And Toledo, they're just better than everyone else. Again, I mean, they're out of conference schedule other than the Miami University is the only really tough game they have.
Hold on. What about Tulsa?
Yeah, come on, dude. Tulsa?
And at Nevada? Heading out to
Reno? Nevada doesn't do nothing for me. Neither does Tulsa.
Tulsa's going to be feeling the loss of Dean Evans. That was a good quarterback for them.
They're one of the worst teams in the American, Drew. Come on.
All right.
One thing also in the MAC you want to keep an eye on, if you're looking at scheduling and like some scheduling conflicts there's 2 things that I actually like on the schedule. And if you're a buyer on the Ohio Bobcats, the 2 toughest games you're going to have this year, Jeff and everybody, they're at home. You're going to have Miami, Ohio, and Toledo both at home, which is a nice advantage to have. From a betting perspective, check this one out. Kansas, I mean, I always have a soft spot in my heart for Kent State. It's like that little team that they tend to get beat up. I know a couple people from that program directly there. They always give it their all. Their quarterback, Holly, literally last year was thrown in from a running back position just to play quarterback. They ran read option the rest of the year. It's kind of fun to watch. But look at their first full game, 4 games there. They're going to go to at Clemson. They're going to sneak in Howard at home. They're going to go at Marshall and at Louisville. they're going to get exploded in 3 of those 4 games. Nobody's going to be looking at them, and then they come home and play a weak Buffalo team at home. One of those spots I like to look for in setup where you might be getting some value going. Kent State just got beat by 65 points for Lamar Jackson last week.
There'll be value. Exactly right. And speaking of Buffalo, that's a disaster. Lance Leopold has just been a terrible hire. I mean, I know they liked what he did at Whitewater or Division 2 school he was from, but it's been a disaster. Defensively, this team's not gotten any better. They've actually gotten worse. This quarterback they had last year that's come back, he's barely 50% completions. That's not good enough. He's going to have to be a lot better. And Buffalo might be better a little bit defensively, but the problem is a lot of other teams in this conference have gotten better, and they've got way more ground to make up than some of these other teams. Buffalo's just not going to be able to make many inroads this year, in my opinion.
Drew, I think you do make, though, a good point about that Tulsa game. Look, what's the total in that game going to be? I mean, it's got to probably be in the 80s, no?
Yeah, at least 77, 78. I don't know.
I think that's going to be a high-scoring game. So, Drew, you really don't think they can beat Tulsa or Toledo? You think they can beat Tulsa?
I mean, looking at, let's see, we got, I mean, it's just, I mean,
it's at home, too.
Yeah, the spot play. They're coming back from Nevada. I mean, I actually haven't.
But Drew, I mean, what Nevada? I mean, who cares about Nevada? I mean, what are they?
They're kind of sleeper.
Come on, Nevada. Maybe you're right. They have a new coach there. I think you might be onto something there.
They might lose to UNLV as well. So
yeah, good point. Drew, I want to point out one thing about the other teams in this conference. I mean, Northern Illinois. I mean, 5 different quarterbacks in the last 26 games. They've had some trouble really maintaining any consistency there. Western Michigan, can Tom Flacco make the step to be a passer? We know he can run the football. Can he throw the football as well? They have a good running back group in Bogan and Franklin. And I want to point out Tim Lester. Can they believe in him the way they did with Fleck? Because I'm not sure many people know this guy went to Western Michigan. He's coached at Western Michigan. He was in the hat when PJ Fleck got hired. This guy breathes Western Michigan. Can they believe and buy into the system the way they did with Fleck? They're going to have a couple years. And Donnie, Drew, Ian, I think the worst team in this conference has to be Ball State. I mean, you look at Ball State, I mean, just nothing offensively as far as explosive players. The quarterback, Riley Neal, was he had real problem with interceptions last year. Defensively, they were 126th last year in pass defense, and I don't see much to improve this year.
Too, yeah.
Right, and we also have to bring up Riley Neal has missed all of spring ball with a shoulder injury. He had to get surgery on his non-throwing shoulder. So this team, I think, is going to have some real problems this year. They may win 2 games. I think they're going to be a team you definitely want to bet against on any given week.
And if they have any sort of offense, they'll be an over team because that defense is dreadful, absolutely dreadful. If they can get anything out of Riley Neal once he gets healthy and any sort of offense, because they do have some 3 of their 5 linemen back along the offensive line, that will help. They're going to be involved in some shootouts quite potentially.
I think they have two winnable games in the schedule. I mean, UAB's winnable and they'll beat Tennessee Tech. But other than that, I mean, I just don't know that I see much here. I mean, can they beat Buffalo? I mean, really? I mean, Buffalo's probably about their level, but
yeah, I'm down on Buffalo at that point.
I'm not liking what I'm hearing from Buffalo. I've heard a lot of that. Buffalo's just across the border from me. Not good. Not a good situation there right now. And they're getting killed in the recruiting battle against these other MAC schools.
No, I would agree. One of the teams I'm looking to actually buy on, if you take a look, one of those, and again, there's picked in a couple magazines 5th and 6th in the division. That's Central Michigan. Now, I know they lost their all-world, all-pro quarterback, Cooper Rush. But if you take a look, if they do have a transfer that's coming in from Michigan that's going to play in Morris. I think he can handle the Tide. But also, if you take a look at running back position, Romello Ross and also Devin Spalding might be one of the best combinations of running back in the conference. And let's not forget wide receiver. If you watch anything of what they did last year, Corey Willis and Mark Chapman are fantastic senior wideouts coming back. If they can get some adequate quarterback play, they're going to be able to maybe shock some teams out there.
I think you make a good point there with that. I mean, it's hard to replace Rush. I mean, he was the second most prolific passer in this conference history, not just in their history, in the conference. I mean, you can't replace him. But Shane Morris, I think, at a smaller school where it's not so much pressure, I think you're right, Donnie. John Bonamigo, a pretty good coach. The question I have with them is, they were very good in 2015 defensively, but last year they really struggled to get stops. I mean, it was like a pinball gallery. But, early on, they have some winnable games. I mean, Rhode Island, Kansas. You got to go to Ohio. You get Toledo, but there's some winnable games here. I think from a points bet perspective, they might have some good value, especially if Shane Morris can kind of open himself up. But yeah, it's hard to believe.
Look at their O-line too, Jeff.
Yeah.
All 5 linemen coming back, one junior and all the rest seniors. That's always a nice recipe to break in a new quarterback and get the running game going. So I'm a little bit of a buyer on CMU.
Over maybe with this group.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I think offensively, you mentioned Romello Ross and you mentioned Corey Spalding. I think this team's going to score plenty of points, and I don't know how good they're going to be off defensively.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, you guys have brought up some good points, especially in the MAC West. With Eastern Michigan really stepping up last year and being a lot better, I agree with you. In big man, saying Riley Neal was out for spring, that makes me want to fade away on Ball State. I think that they're a disaster waiting to happen.
Again, we have some bad teams in this conference. I mean, with Buffalo and with teams like that. I don't think Northern Illinois is going to be very good either. But, I think you're dead right, Drew. I think they're the worst team in this conference. I think they're going to have major problems. They have no explosive players whatsoever. I mean, at least like Eastern Michigan has a Shaq Van or someone like that. This team has nothing. They have nothing to get excited about. And, I mean, it just seems like they're lost. I mean, Neal wasn't good last year. 12 interceptions, 13 touchdowns. I mean, that's not a good ratio. And Ian pointed out defensively, they were just a torched mess.
Hey, real quick, we got Tomar saying Bitcoin has separated men from boys in sportsbooks in the chat box. And I was just talking to Zach about going to our sportsbook rating page, and you can see who takes Bitcoin. And remember, if we get 20 people to go from watching this hangout to that page, we'll give away a free flight, free hotel, up to $750 on the flight to IFBC.
Drew, anything down at the conference there? Is there going to be something with Bitcoin? Is somebody going to present that? Like how to use it? I would love to learn more about it. Honest to God, yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of research on Bitcoin. It's an interesting currency there. But Zach's putting in a link into the chat box, into the ratings page, where you can compare sports books on lines like we were talking earlier, and Bitcoin as well. Guys, all right, MACtion. What else are we thinking? I think Rod Carey, Northern Illinois, he's driving this program into the ground. I'm not looking to buy on Northern Illinois.
That's a great point, Drew. And like I said, I mean, in the last 2 years, they've started 5 different quarterbacks. I mean, they just had major problems keeping anyone healthy there. I mean, Drew Hare, I thought, had the ability. He gets injured.
Dude, he was good. That guy, he was mobile too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this team was go ahead. What do you got?
No, I was just going to say, who was before Rod Kill? Coach Kill, right? Jerry Kill?
Yes.
Way back in the day?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean,
it was Jerry Kill.
Yeah, he's been there about
He's the guy from NC State.
Yeah, Dave Dorn. Yeah.
Yep.
I agree, Drew. I think he is driving them into the ground. And what's to be excited about with them? I mean, can Ryan Graham do anything? They lost Kenny Golladay.
I don't like Ryan Graham at all. I mean, Santa Catarina, as for what you want to say, he's a mobile run-around quarterback, but he's not the most accurate guy. They have a good running back coming back this year, but losing Golladay and just the overall scheme of things, Shawan Laurie actually might be the best overall defensive player in the conference. But yes, you're looking at NIU, Jeff, for the last 2 to 3 years, supremely talented team, top of the MAC. That's not them this year, and that's a weird spot for them to be in.
And another team we didn't talk about at all is this Bowling Green team. I mean, this team, I mean, I don't know if anyone's looked at their schedule early on, but, I mean, you got Michigan State, Northwestern, Middle Tennessee, all road games there. It's very likely they'll start at 1-3. Then you get Miami of Ohio. I mean, I think it's going to be another long year for Mike Jenks here. I mean, you take over a team last year that just got shredded on the defensive end. What's James Morgan going to do for you? You've had such good quarterbacks there. I mean, Kanapke and what was the kid Matt
Johnson?
Yeah, a couple years ago. I mean, they've had so many good quarterbacks, so many good offensive players, but I mean, what the hell is this team going to be this year? They could be one of the worst teams in the conference as well.
Yeah, the Babers system worked there very well as well. And, of course, they haven't had that now. This will be the second year they don't have that system going for them.
I mean, this team in the first 4 weeks of the season last year gave up 77 or more points twice. I mean, when has that ever happened? I've never seen anything like that. That's amazing.
Bowling Green, though, they actually closed. I was very surprised. They were one of the worst teams I watched all last year, closed with 3 straight wins. The one guy I do get a kick out of, from me being – high school to college, a 5'11" white wideout. I'm still shocked that Scotty Miller at wide receiver is as good as he is, as small as he is. The guy might be the fastest guy in the conference, and he's a white kid.
And these kids are catching on, these small white kids, you know, the Cole Beasley.
We're evolving, Jeff. We are evolving.
Yes, we are. You look at you. You could have been quite a good receiver, Donnie. You should have kept at it.
Maybe 20 years. Yeah, 20 years down the line, right? Yeah.
Donnie Wright said, I got to ask you. I think one team we haven't talked about is Akron. I think this team's gonna Terry Bowden. I mean, he's been honorable, but I mean, Tommy Woodson's another one of those guys that, like, he reminds you of PJ Walker. I mean, he just has never gotten any better at his position. He's just, I don't know.
He's just a tough quarterback. I mean, he's a veteran quarterback. I hear on that. Have a good wide receiver or good running back situation. Lost some key wideouts last year. The one thing they do have, Austin Wolf again, another white wideout in the MAC. I don't know if they're growing them on trees, but some very, very good players. But yes, I'm not high on the Akron Zips this year. Didn't like the way they ended the season last year. And again, I mean, Bowden's time, he's used to getting a lot of recruits using his, influence there. But I think his time's running up as well. Getting a little bit longer.
He's been banged up beyond belief. And he's been banged up beyond belief too, Thomas Woodson. He's had to deal with some injuries each of the last couple of years. And there's no guarantee he's going to be able to make it through a full season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like that Bowden profile. The guy that used to be a really good coach at a big name program, and then
Tommy Tuberville effect. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You just keep trading down conferences. Yeah.
Yeah, and there have been guys that it's worked for. I mean, like Skip Holtz.
Yeah,
Skip Holtz is Skip Holtz and Solich have built decent careers, and there's these guys that kind of just fit in. But Terry Bowden's just been there's 6.
Larry Coker's going UTSA. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of them that just traded down just on their name and just didn't really get anything going.
I will say
Ron Turner, another one that flopped.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
One thing to get excited about with Bowling Green, I mean, they did have the number 2 recruiting class in this conference. So, I mean, I think they're looking up, but it's going to be a number of years before Bowling Green competes at the level they were at. But the fact that they got the second highest, the second best recruiting class, that's intriguing for sure. But it's Toledo for me in the West, and then for me, Drew, in the East. I'm going to go with Ohio. I think Toledo will end up winning this conference.
Okay. Hey guys, wait. I got one more question for the MAC, but we got Zach here. He wants to give everyone a shout out here about IFBC.
Yo, what's up?
There he is.
But yeah, no. Just long story short, we did say if we had 20 people hit the page, that we would give out some free tickets. And it looks like we have sent 22 people over to the Best Sportsbooks page. So, lots of
Who's in? Who's going? Come on.
Wow.
I know somebody asked about parlays for win totals, and we were able to answer that question. Guys, head over to this page. Check it out. Use it. Make sure if you're shopping for a sportsbook, that you can bet with confidence. Somebody that's been rated well by SBR, someone that's got histories, We've got a long list of all the complaints we've resolved and whatnot. You can see who you can trust with your money. So thanks for the guys that went over there. And, yeah, for going over, checking that page out, and hopefully using it. Drew, I'm letting you guys pick somebody.
All right.
Take it over.
Well said, Zach. You heard the man. We got 22 people to the page. So I guess through the chat box, Cynthia or Big Man, Donnie, Ian, you guys want to pick somebody out, somebody that
I think everybody in the chat box is going already. Can we give it out to family and friends over here?
Give it to
That's the problem. Yeah, who's going?
Get Frankie Roast Beef down there. I'd like to see him in a quiet room. Me and him. I'd like to see him at some point. Get him down there. Bring Frankie Roast Beef down. I say I vote him.
All right. Well, we got a few more minutes.
Jeff wants to invite all the people giving him flack here. He wants to just.
Nah, I say Seth too. Let's get Seth down here. He's a good listener. He always listens to the show. His girlfriend has 36 double Ds. I'm good with that. Let's bring her down, guys.
Instead of Seth? Oh man, that's cold, Jeff.
Yeah, screw Seth. Bring it. Give your girlfriend the ticket, cuz.
All right, we got Seth. Juan's chiming in as well. So,
sure,
John,
guys. We give enough.
Juan's a great follower too. Yeah. Yep.
All right, so one of these two guys, we still got best bets, so we got a couple minutes to choose one. But hey, I have one question for you guys. We got Ohio versus Miami of Ohio for the division championship, October 31st. That's Halloween night, Tuesday night in the MAC. Let's put a line on this game. We got it at Ohio, Miami of Ohio at Ohio. What are you setting the line at, guys?
-3. I don't
-3 for Ohio.
I don't. Yeah, I think the home team will be. I don't think there's much difference in these teams. I don't. I think they're very much the same team. And I think at that point, the game. I mean, Donnie, you get 3 points for home team, right? I mean, that's about all I
You
would
know,
get.
the one thing that Jeff does bring up a good point in this, because if you look at the overall schedule for the Bobcats, I mean, he put it, I mean, Hampton, Purdue, Kansas, they might be able to beat, two teams that are, in the Big Five. You got Michigan, Central State. I actually would agree with Jeff that Ohio might be favored in this game because the public is going to look the same way most people at the overall record.
I guess I just don't see how what would be the reasoning for having Miami of Ohio the favorite? They're the same team, guy. I think we can agree. I mean, does any team have a leg up here? I think
the one thing you're right about that. I just think Miami as an entire team, the way they played this year, they played more of Big Ten football than actually MAC football. They'll come out and pound the running game, have a quarterback that's going to throw 3 touchdowns and no interceptions in the game, play unbelievable defense. And again, I always look at Frank Solich is a great head coach, which is going to help Ohio. But the way Martin coaches the game, it's almost like he's coaching an NFL game. 3rd and 1, we're not throwing a screen pass. We're running the ball up the middle. I like Miami Ohio overall, but it's a good point, Jeff. At Ohio, that's a tough place to win because, again, Ohio's a good football team. So I agree with you on this one.
Yeah, I think it'll be fairly even. I don't have much.
I don't
have much reason to think. And I'd almost, if you're getting points, whoever's getting points in that game, I think you take. I mean, I think it's a very even football game overall.
All right, boys, let's move on to best bets, and also want to give a shout out to Point Blank, Dave Malinsky. If you haven't read it yet today, it's a piece that I read every single day. It's almost like the Wall Street Journal of sports betting. It's on SBR Picks. He's a great writer, the best sports betting writer that I've ever read. Dave Malinsky, Point Blank, is now on SBR Picks, so can't recommend it enough to all the listeners out there.
That's no joke or lie either, Drew. Dave Malinsky's writing ability is unbelievable. It does it like a storybook, like a poetry, like a poet almost when he puts those columns together. It's a fantastic read. You're going to be smarter reading it. So I agree wholeheartedly. Check it out on a daily basis, Point Blank at SBR.
Yeah, absolutely. We're trying to make SBR Picks more, a sharper site with definitely more and better betting insight. And I think we're doing a great job, and Point Blank's leading the way with Dave Malinsky. So, guys, let's get into it. Best bets. Let's go around the horn. MLB, CFL. I guess really whatever you want to get into. Donnie's team total's been hot. So where do we want to start? Donnie, you want to lead us off?
Let's go. I mean, let's keep it simple, stupid, as we like to say on this show. It's been working. We're not going to get off the train. We're going to keep it to a team total. We're going to keep it on the first 5, and we're going to keep it easy. Going to go with the Diamondbacks over 2.5 minus 120 first 5 innings in Cincinnati today. I like the way the team's. If JD Martinez gets into this lineup today, let's get it even more. Jeff and I brought up, we thought the Arizona bats would come to life. They have come to life here in Cincinnati. So I'll keep it simple. 5 times you can get that line. I'm going to go team total first 5 innings over 2.5 for the Arizona Diamondbacks today. This is my roundtable play of the day.
Nice. Like it. Keep it hot. Big man, what do you got?
I'm going to actually piggyback off Donnie right side. I talked with the Reds earlier. This team is fade material right now for me. I'm going to actually – I don't usually lay numbers like this, but I'm going to lay it today with Zach Greinke. As far as at SBRodds.com, you can get Greinke at friends at Bet Online, one of the best in the industry. I'm going to go with that. I think Greinke's really kind of been – I know he's an all-star, but we haven't talked about him much as far as being an elite pitcher this year. This guy's been absolutely fantastic. They've won 13 of his 18 starts. He's been on fire lately, and I got to tell you, Tim Edelman doesn't do jack shit for me, as does no one in this rotation. They're not hitting right now. I like the Diamondbacks a lot in this game. I thought yesterday it was a nice bounce back. They had, I think, lost 7 of 8 or something like that. They had a day off, got their bearings, and Donnie mentioned it. I don't know if JD Martinez will play in this game, but I think if he's added, it'll just be a bonus here and bolster that lineup. So I'm going to go with the very easy play. I'm going to go with the Diamondbacks minus 151. Little high, but I like this play a lot.
Okay. D-backs minus 151 at BOL for big man. And Ian Cameron, what do you like in CFL, MLB?
Sometimes that one win for a team can really get them going in the other direction. That could happen. It wouldn't shock me that Arizona goes on a bit of a run now. And obviously the JD Martinez acquisition, that pumps up the entire dugout, the entire team. We got another bat now. We're going for it. We're trying to make something of our season. So everybody's a little fired up, a little more juice to play the baseball game tonight. So it's something to look for. How can I not go CFL for my best bet? How can I not? Especially when I see a Wednesday night CFL game on the board. There's not many of these. That's where we're going. Montreal Alouettes, Ottawa Red Blacks, a big East Division battle. We're going to take Montreal Alouettes plus 4.5 at the Greek. That's rotation number 351. Montreal plus 4.5. Ottawa's a winless football team, laying points. Some people have seen some excitement, fascination with that. Ottawa opened 3. It's now 4, 4.5 across the board. But this is a winless football team. They've found ways to lose. I know they're better than their record indicates, Ottawa. Doesn't mean they're going to be able to win this game by margin, though. They've played 4 games. They're 0-3-1 so far. Every single Ottawa game decided by 4 points or less. They tied Calgary in week 1. They lost by 4 to Calgary in week 2. They lost by 1 point to Toronto in week 3, and they lose by 2 last week to Edmonton. That's not a team I'm looking to lay points with. So I know Ottawa, the spot is desperation time. Hungry to get that first win. Montreal got a big win last week at home against Calgary. Their offense is starting to improve. Darian Durant's getting more comfortable at the quarterback position in this Jacques Chapdelaine offense. I think the Alouettes, have a chance in this game. And the fact that Ottawa, not winning games at all, let alone winning by margin. Let's go with Montreal plus 4.5. Best bet for the roundtable this week.
Hey, Ian.
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to mention to you, I wanted to thank you, man. It was one of those days last week when there was nothing going on, and I hit you up about a game, and you gave me a great breakdown. I bet the game, and I think it was over at halftime. Very good job, man. I will admit, you kind of look at things the way I do, and I think you do a great job in the CFL. I don't know anything about it, but look, when I don't know about something, I want to bet on it. I go to the people that know what they're talking about. So very good job. Yeah, that was you gave great analysis, and it happened exactly like you said it would. So great job, man.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. I think you're talking about the BC Hamilton game it was on Saturday. The game that flew over the total with ease. Yeah, I'm glad you cashed in. That's what it's all about, helping each other out, helping us make money. That's what it's all about. I feel just as good, if not more, even more happy, helping other people win than just me winning and me profiting. That is the honest truth. It's all about helping each other out. It was a 5-0 CFL week for me last week. Let's see if we can do it again or something similar this week.
Amen. There you go.
Absolutely. I was following along as well. I couldn't say it any better than Big Man just did. Thank you, Ian. Definitely knows CFL. Can't recommend it enough. But guys, good best bets. I will give out Houston minus 105. I think anytime you can get the Astros minus 110, it's worth a look. So I'm going to jump
Charlie
on it.
Morton action today.
Yeah, man. Going to go with the Charlie Morton curveball and fade a little James Paxton. When you look at the lineups he's faced, nothing like Houston. So Houston minus 105 at home. It kicks off here. So if you're watching on replay, sorry. But for the live listeners, that's what I'm taking. We got Donnie team total, Arizona over 2.5, first 5 at 5 dimes. Ian, Arizona, or Big Man, Arizona, minus 151 at Bet Online. We got Ian, CFL, the Montreal Alouettes, plus 4.5, and I'm on the Astros, pretty much even money. So, yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. Remember to check out the Sportsbook rating page. You can compare all kinds of things, get in the Bitcoin, how to fund your account, everything like that. And also compare lines that way. Please use SBR. It's how we can give out really trips like we're doing for IFBC. We're looking to do more of that. If you guys help us out, we can help you out, bring you down all over Central America, Mexico, who knows? The next place up. We're excited to meet some of you guys, and thanks for tuning in. Please give us a thumbs up as well. It helps us out too. And we will be back next week for the SBR Betting Roundtable, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. For Ian,
hey, Drew,
Donnie, and Big Man, thank you for watching. Big Man, close us out.
Yeah, real quick, I wanted to piggyback. Great stuff about the IFBC. We're going to give away 3 more trips. We gave away 4 last night on the late night on campus. We're going to give 3 away tonight. The controversial and much talked about Jimmy the Bag is going to come and tell his story on our show tonight. So make sure you tune in. He's going to be in full character for that. So we're going to give some trips away. Jimmy will tell his story, and you could say whatever you want. He'll answer anything. We'll talk to him tonight. So join us for that. We'll give some more trips away.
And I've actually had people on Twitter ask me, "Oh, you're Canadian like Jimmy the Bag. Do you know this guy?" I don't know this guy. I actually had never even seen him. You could put him in a jail cell lineup. I couldn't point him out. Honest to God. I let him do his thing. I've not paid any attention to it whatsoever, but I'm sure it'll be an entertaining interview.
Shots fired.
Yeah, he's a fun dude, and he'll be down for IFBC as well, I believe. So, yeah, congrats to Rich. See you August 4th, and I guess we got 3 more coming down with Big Man and Donnie's show as well. So thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next week.